You're listening to Midwest Coven Cast.
I'm Susie.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Marilyn. We are three modern pagans making our way through this world.
We hope you will join us every 2 weeks
for conversations about,
well,
just about everything. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome back, Coven.
Welcome back, Coven.
So excited about this episode. So we're going to jump right into it because we literally have somebody on the line. We have a guest today, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But today we're going to be talking about tarot. So we have brought on a guest who reads tarot. Her name is Rhiannon. Why don't you introduce yourself? Let them know who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I am Rhiannon Hart. I have been doing this for like 20 years. I'm 35 years old. I started when I was 15. I had a friend of mine back in the day get me into it.
Nice.
I'll get more into that later, I promise.
Lots of questions.
I'm so jazzed to do this for such a long time. I've got talking notes. I've got like 4 pages.
You were prepared. I was like really excited when we started talking about this, and you were just like, you understood the assignment. You're like, I have all these notes, and we compared. Like, I told her some stuff that we might ask, and she was like, I already got all of this covered, and I'm like, yes.
I really do. It's great. I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tarot decks that I can see right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I tend to collect tarot/oracle decks myself, so I'm really excited to like have someone on who has like a similar sort of interest. So maybe that's actually something that we can get into, like what is our relationship with tarot/oracle, because we all have sort of different views on this. I also have been into tarot since I was a teenager, and I had a Rider-Waite deck growing up, and then I also have this like weird, it's technically like a playing card set, but it was also like a weird oracle combination sort of thing that I had. It was like this orange deck.
Was it like playing cards?
It's like playing cards, yes.
I feel like I might remember those.
You remember it?
I mean,
Yeah.
like weirdly, the orange was kind of sticking out to me, but yeah.
So interestingly, I bought it at a garage sale when I was a teenager of one of Corey's aunts.
Oh wow.
It was like, I can't remember if it was, well, I won't say names, but
yeah, I can imagine though, yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I've had like some oracle/tarot stuff that I've done since I'm young, but I've mostly only ever read for myself. You will only be, I believe, the third or fourth person who has ever read for me outside of myself. So I'm pretty excited because you are going to do a reading, I believe, at the end or near the end of the episode. So we'll get that in there as well. So I'm pretty excited.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. So how about the two of you? Because you have sort of different.
I love reading tarot because I help a few people out, and it really does. It resonates really well with me.
Yeah.
As
Same here.
a chaos witch, the structure of tarot.
Yeah.
Well, so I've never had a reading done like formally. Mm-hmm. I've drawn oracle cards before for inspiration for like art assignments and things like that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm scared per se, but like because my belief in magic is that I have the ability to create and manifest everything that I have with my internal powers. Mm-hmm. So to me, it seems like a tool that I don't need to use. I've also not been really close with horoscopes or things like in astrology, like giving powers to things like that. Yeah. I believe in like manifesting the energy that I want and giving. I don't know. It seemed like something that wasn't aligned with what I was trying to get in tune with. I don't know.
Interesting.
A little bit more about me here is I was born on Valentine's Day. My last name is Hart, so there's that novelty off pretty quickly. But my mother went into labor with me on a Friday the 13th on a full moon.
So you like have all this stuff going.
She's like, this is all I need.
And so it just spiraled there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's like my father was into the Native American shaman stuff.
Okay.
Initiated into that.
Mm-hmm.
So he got me into this at a very, very young age. Very much. Not only that, but my dad was being, an older man, was very into Bruce Lee. So he got philosophies as well. So I've been raised into weird shit like astrology and paganism and all that. Well, at the same time being drugged to church every Sunday.
Interesting.
I was drugged to church. Well, I was dropped off at church and then left there.
So Susie and I never really had that. We never really went to church. We were very, like, we celebrated, like, Christmas and, like, Easter and stuff like that.
You never went to church with Grandma?
Well, never went to church, but we weren't, it wasn't, like, a all-the-time thing for us. Like, it was rare. Like, if we spent the night at Grandma's, we went on a Sunday, but, like, we weren't at our Grandma's, like, but maybe once every month or 2 months or something, you know what I mean? So it wasn't, like, a regular thing for us.
Yeah,
and so our relationship with, like, sort of the Christian religion, at least for me, has always been pretty tenuous. Like, even, like, the religions not the religions, even the holidays, I mean, when we celebrated those, we did it very secularly. Like, Christmas was never, the Lord Jesus has come and the Savior has been born. No, it was like Santa Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and elves.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was like always the stuff that really tied it more towards some of like the more Norse paganry and things like that anyway. So, fair folk or elves and all,
That's what we liked about it, was the magic of it.
It did not help the fact that when I was 12 years old, I went through this whole, what the fuck does my name mean? My name looks too weird for it not to be. And then I learned that it's the name of a Celtic goddess, and then I developed a complex.
Nice. So I think we did, Susie, you have not stated what your relationship with tarot is yet.
Honestly, I don't really have one. I feel like I love the look of all of the decks, and I like what it can represent. Yeah. Like, for me, I feel like everybody has their own interpretation of everything in this world, so it's like when somebody gets something that can say, hey, this would mean sort of this, and this, like it's universal to most people. That with tarot, I do find it fascinating that there is something that a lot of people can universally find meaning in and can kind of take forward their own life journey and say, hey, I learned this and that and the other from what it meant to me to see these things in my lineup. You know what I mean? Like, because I've only been drawn one time, Marilyn. You drew cards for us. We asked a question, and then you drew 3 cards.
And I think I didn't even have them tell me what the question was, I don't think.
No, you didn't. But yeah, anyways, it's like kind of one of those things that in the moment when you see what's in front of you and what the significance of it means according to the deck, you sort of kind of piece those pieces together to your own life and what you connect to it, and it kind of makes you realize things in places that you might not have tried to put those meanings to before or something. So anyways, I like the fact that at least people can be read tarot and they can kind of have an insight into their own life for a moment to reevaluate things in a different way than their everyday life would make them.
Well, I think this brings up like an interesting kind of where I kind of bring what Susie has to say about it and what Sam thinks she does to together in tarot, because Sam, you said something about like, well, you're more like about manifesting and things like that, and Susie's like, well, I like how it can like bring insights into my life, and I use it in this very way for manifestation because I think it helps you sort of to look at things from a different angle about what you're trying to accomplish. So like, if I'm looking forward to like a relationship or trying to get a project done or something like that, what's holding me up? What is it that I need to work on to reach that goal? Or at least that's how I tend to use it. So it's kind of like interesting
to hear both perspectives from you.
Yeah.
I tell people it's kind of like using a spiritual GPS.
Kinda, yeah.
I like that.
If you keep on this path, this is what will happen. This can change if you deviate from the path you are on. It's like because GPS now, it'll be like, here's a roadblock. This is your detour because of construction.
Which life tends to do sometimes. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I've always seen it like more as, and I'm sure people's opinions are going to vary on this, but I've always seen it more, I've seen it less predictive and more instructive, I guess. At least in my personal experience with it, or at least in how I've used it. So, so I think a lot of people see it as predictive. I think that's sort of its stereotyped, position in pop culture, which I don't necessarily want to say that it's not that. It's just not that how I have tended to use it.
It's a little column B.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first question was, how long have you been doing this for?
Oh, yeah.
20 years. I have been doing this for 20 years. So I assume that I'm, half-ass decent at
it. So, you said that you had a family member that sort of drew you into this stuff. So can you tell us about like your first experience with tarot? Do you remember, like, did someone give you a reading? Was someone just like starting to teach it to you? Did you sort of pick it up on your own after sort of seeing someone else do it?
My first experience with tarot wasn't even my experience. It was my parents were divorced. My dad took me to this psychic lady in town. I roll my eyes because it's just, look, she had an African gray parrot, which I thought was cool. I grew up with fucking birds galore in my house. We had like a aviary, so I was like, hey, this is an African gray. Like,
we had birds pretty often too.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
my dad liked birds and fish.
Having birds at all.
Birds
like 0% recollection.
And fish. Yep,
I remember the fish.
But yeah, I actually remember that one lady across the street from Dad that had all birds in her house. That was like,
my friend Chelsea's mom.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm so sorry. That was a tangent. My bad. But anyways, so you went to the psychic lady.
Going, where the fuck is my TV remote? Jeez. But no, but this lady, she starts reading my dad's palms, and then she starts pulling random cards, and I had no clue what the fuck she was doing. Basically, in the end, a few months later, I just realized that she was telling my dad what he wanted to hear and not what he needed to hear. And I'm like, well, that lady was a waste of like, let's see, that was like 1998. So back then it was like $30. So it's like, that was definitely a waste of my father's time. And that really just angered me. And then later on, my dad was diagnosed with colon cancer, and he suffered from complications of that. Like, he had a complete colonectomy, had a colostomy bag and all that. And the radiation from the chemo fucked with his liver. And that's what got him in the end. And later on, my grandparents were going through his things, and there was this tarot deck, which was Native American themed, and they just threw it away. And like I tried to hide it, but they found it anyway, and they threw it out. And it like a slight to my father. It felt just so wrong to me.
Wow.
And then later on, about a year later, because I was still trying to maintain that church community then, because my grandfather, rest his soul, was a Southern Baptist reverend, ironically a hardcore Democrat. So we got along real good. So we can be thankful for the irony, and I love my papaw very, very much. When I came out of all the closets at once to him, he just got out of his chair and gave me a big old hug, and he's like, I'm going to love you no matter what, as long as you don't hurt yourself or anyone else. And yeah, I love my papaw.
Yeah.
But we were at church one day, about a year or so after my dad died, about a year and a month after my dad died. So it was a hot August day in Indiana. And I was feeling kind of lost without my dad. So it was that whole go up to the altar to pray thing. And I went up to the altar to pray because I felt lost without my dad. Now, in the meantime, I was actually studying other religions so I didn't come off as an asshole to other people. Oh, but, in church we can't have that. You have to be an asshole. Remain ignorant. That's, as an Aquarius, that's not my fucking thing.
Yeah.
Look, I am an Aquarius sun with an Aquarius rising and a Virgo moon, okay? I am a triple shot of insufferable fucking know-it-all, okay? I cannot remain ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend and I always get into it. He's like, it's all about being right with you. I'm like, yeah. Birth chart?
You get it.
It's very much that. Stop being wrong.
Oh my gosh. So it sounds like your dad is sort of in large part your inspiration into getting into
He was a driving force. He really
Yeah.
was. But no, they come up to the altar with me, and I have all these people praying around me, and I felt loved for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then my pastor looked at me and said, "You need to get rid of anything and everything in your house that doesn't have to do with God or Jesus Christ." And I pushed him off of me so hard, and I looked at him and I yelled in the middle of Fairview Baptist Church in Kokomo, Indiana, "I will not be a book burner. I will not become a book burner." And I marched my happy ass home. I looked at I'm walking home. In walking distance, but I still had to cross like a 4-lane highway, and being 15 years old and in chunky heels, that was kind of scary.
Because I'm guessing this was like what, the 90s, early 2000s, probably.
It was 2002.
Oh wow, yeah. We had some chunky shoes back then. Oh,
she's like, I will walk these bitches out.
Yeah.
And that was the day I decided to leave Christianity.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow.
You're made for walking, baby.
So, interesting. So I think this kind of brings me back to a question because, you're kind of talking about the worst parts of like evangelicalism and like whatever. But we have there are some problematic things that happen in our community too. You were talking about how you felt like one of the ladies, she was telling your dad what he wanted to hear, not necessarily what he needed to hear, whatever. So what about you as a practitioner? What are some are there readings that you won't do? Are there sort of philosophies that sort of guide your practice in in an ethical kind of way, things like that, as you read for other people?
Well, I at the very least, I try to have manners.
Yeah.
Again, I call my practice foul mouth tarot because I'm a factory worker and I cuss a lot. but
she's like, but I'm still nice.
According to now, you need to check if you're going to do this for money. You need to check your state laws because, hilariously enough, there are guidelines to go by. For instance, in Indiana, I cannot give counsel on anything legal or medical. My spiel when I do this on my lives, on my TikTok, if it involves a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, or a nurse, I don't fuck with it.
Makes sense, though,
because it's a legality thing for me. Mm-hmm. If I could afford a lawyer, I wouldn't have a side gig. It's like, don't ask me if you're going to get your ankle bracelet off next month. Don't ask me about your fucking court date. Don't ask me about the divorce. Ask me if you're going to get pregnant because fertility falls under the lines of medical because you have to see a fucking doctor. I don't know why some of you are so goddamn stupid. It's like, God damn
that makes a lot of sense.
Don't ask me. And for the love of God, please quit asking me if so-and-so likes you. You don't need a tarot reading. You need to grow a pair. Just fucking ask them your damn self. Drives me out of my mind.
Oh, no.
Absolutely. Does so-and-so have feelings for me? I'm like, why don't you ask her yourself? Well, if she's married, then leave her the fuck alone.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
Oh, no.
Well, polyamory's a thing.
Then you're both pieces of shit. It's like, I don't know what else to tell
you. Still gotta just ask people.
Oh my gosh.
God, I hate that so much.
So, what are the types of readings that you get that are, legitimate, that you enjoy doing for people? Just kind of when they're looking for direction in life, or, what kinds of people tend to come and ask for readings?
I actually have ancestor and spirit guide spreads that I do. And the ancestor spreads actually help connect with past loved ones. It's not just people you're related to. I had this one girl, she's a nursing student, last year sometime, and her friend passed away very suddenly. And she was having, going through a grieving process. And I did this ancestor spread for her, and it's like this person wants you to be able to move forward. That's exactly that's exactly how it came out. I'm like, this person wants you to be able to move forward and be happy because they love you. They don't want you to forget about them, but they do want you to move on without them. Mm-hmm. Then she started to cry, and then I started to cry, and then we all started to cry, and it was a wonderful.
I'm not crying right now. What are you talking about?
Oh no, I did it. I made her cry.
You're officially part of the coven.
I mean, I'm trying not to cry, so
I understand. It was just, look, I can be a cold hard bitch sometimes. I know I can, but it's like I do have a heart. I do. But again, it's that big three of mine, the Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Rising, and the Virgo Moon. It's like triple shot of insufferable know-it-all, double shot of emotionless asshole.
What's the Virgo one? Because I'm Virgo.
Susie's a Virgo. You're a Virgo.
Yeah, I'm Virgo. So what is my personality type tendencies?
It's a lot of, it's like perfectionist.
Damn it, yeah.
A lot of perfectionist. Like I'm just now learning about birth charts and stuff. So I've got this nice little array of books.
Yeah.
On my shelf, which are done in rainbow order.
Nice.
At Books A Million on the in the bargain area. They're like $10 books, and there's like astrology, auras, reflexology. I've got sacred geometry up there.
Nice. I'd be interested in all those things. Like, I don't know why, but I remember throughout time me watching all these different videos. It just, like the sacred geometry would always come up, and different things with all those things you just said. Actually.
I have some like crystal grid sacred geometry books at home.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, that stuff does pique my interest a lot of times.
I've got so many crystals laying around the house. My boyfriend's like, why do you have so many rocks? I'm like, in case I need to throw them at you.
I'm like rubbing my favorite one like this whole episode.
But what I want to get into is like when I heard the very first episode of the new season, I was like, okay, you guys have been through some shit. I want to be able to help. Mm-hmm. Talking with Marilyn back and forth for what, like almost a fucking year now.
We have been talking for a while now.
It's like we really bonded over the last season of Dexter.
We did.
It was great. I was glad that they brought it back.
I hope they do more with Harrison. I really do.
Yes, we'll see. I'm kind of hoping. I think they left it open to that possibility for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he did have those psychopathic tendencies. So.
Yeah.
But when she invited me on here, she's like, she mentioned that you two were a little averse to tarot for whatever reason it might be. What I want to get through is, because some people in the last year or two have been telling others that tarot is a closed practice, and it absolutely the fuck is not.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it were a closed practice, there would be so much more to it than just going to a bookstore and buying a deck and just going with it. Because, there are certain things you can buy a Kabbalah at Books A Million, but you're not going to understand it nearly as well.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where my approach to it was. I was like, man, I just feel like if I were to get a tarot deck, I wouldn't necessarily understand it. And I just have always kind of had an off approach kind of for that reason, I guess, because which is the opposite of you. You were saying, don't stay ignorant. I was like, I'm just going to rather stay ignorant about this than understand it. So it's kind of, the more that I do kind of learn about each individual card and the meanings behind it, it's kind of more fascinating than I think what I put to it before.
Well, there is a intuition aspect. Yeah, the card has a basic meaning, but that basic meaning means so much more when you are giving a reading to a specific person. It's like, for instance, the Five of Wands is conflict. You are in the of some bullshit. And usually 9 times out of 10, it's some petty fucking bullshit that somebody or you yourself has made into a much bigger deal than what it fucking needs to be. It's like, but that could depend on who you are talking to. It's like you're in a conflict, shit going on. You've got this, that, the other. It's like quit fighting with your mom. It's like quit. You are instigating this shit. Stop. Like, I have done that. But the things that what makes a closed practice, it's like it has to be used by a specific culture for eons, i.e., white sage. I don't fuck with. There are so many other breeds of sage out there, strains. Yeah. I don't. Different types of sage out there that I do not absolutely have to use white sage. But does that mean you can't? If you're driving down the road in Arizona and you see somebody selling it on the side of the road, that you can't buy it? That person is selling it on the side of the road. Chances are they grew it themselves and they're selling it because they need the money. So there are loopholes with this.
Well, and that's one of the things what was about the white sage? Like, I heard about there was an issue
being
with
harvested. Now that it's not just like a new age trend, and so it's indigenous medicine. So it's at risk of going extinct, basically, because
people are over
and so now the indigenous people who use it are at the risk of losing it
forever.
So
there's certain things that are closed practices: hoodoo, voodoo, santeria, brujeria, Judaism, Kabbalah, even Catholicism is technically a closed practice because you actually have to go to classes. You have to be initiated into these religions in order to practice these things. Like, it always cracks me up because there in voodoo and hoodoo, there are certain spirits that will not work with white people, like at all. So it always cracks me up when someone says, like a white person's like, I used High John the Conqueror root and it worked for me. I'm like, no, it didn't. No, it the fuck did not. High John the Conqueror was murdered by white people. It did not work for you. And then Nat Turner will fucking try to kill you.
Oh
no.
Oh, look at Nat Turner.
Yeah, and
that's a fun one.
Yeah, like I definitely see like holding respect for like not appropriating, is that the right word, Marilyn? You know your words. Appropriating like other people's like, and I think that's one thing that keeps me away from the tarot is like, I don't feel like that's my knowledge to know. I don't know. I respect the people that know it, and it's not for me. I'm not going to pretend it's for me and like use it and pretend that I know that and like
anyone
do
can
readings
learn
for people.
Anyone can absolutely learn tarot, and tarot is not a closed practice. And why is that? It is practices. I'll get there. Take 2. Tarot is not a closed practice because it's been used by many cultures for literal centuries, and it started as a fucking card game.
What?
And there's like I have a whole history of tarot. Like the oldest surviving cards were commissioned by Charles VI of France in 1392. But they were commissioned by a guy in France, and they were 17 hand-painted cards. It was originally a card game for just fucking rich people, okay? Because some of these decks had upwards of 140 cards. And honestly, it's the game itself, I don't even know how to play because it's just too damn fucking complicated to learn. It's like, it was first used for divination by a French noblewoman to influence courts in 1589.
That was what I was going to ask, is when did it start actually getting the, recognition that it could be representative of other things and for readings and stuff like that? So, okay.
Yeah. Like I said, a French noblewoman in 1589 decided, I'm going to use this to influence the courts the way I want them to go. Which, good for you, sis. Get yours, How
clever of a woman.
And then in 1909 is when we get the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is what we use, the system we use today. It was commissioned by Arthur Edward Waite. He was a poet, a mystic, and occultist, a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The publishing company was Rider Publishing. And then the unsung badass of history here is Pamela Coleman Smith. She was the one who illustrated the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. She was also a member of the Golden Dawn. What's really cute about it is her nickname was Pixie. It's like, and I have such like a posthumous crush on this woman. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't even own a Rider-Waite deck, but I acknowledge the fuck out of this woman because she was just amazing. And one of the really cool things about her is the fact that she was actually the goddaughter of Bram Stoker.
Well, that's cool.
Who's that?
Yeah, she used to call him Uncle Brahmi.
Dracula.
And
I'm sorry. I
love that so much. And there's also a tarot museum in Italy, in Riola, Italy, that I would love. Like, you can go see some of these old painted cards. Some of them are beautifully gilded. It's amazing.
That would be cool.
That'd be really cool. I think my go-to deck right now has been like a version of the Rider-Waite. It's like a black and gold deck.
All of the decks that I own, with the exception of, I think, 2 or 3, are basically variations of the Rider-Waite.
Yeah.
With the exception of my tattoo tarot, which is more of a Marseille. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm white. And English. It's French. That's white. It's fine. I'm just fucking American. And so my weird deck, which is the Wizard of Barge Tarot. The artwork's kind of like a rated R Adventure Time. I don't know how else to explain it. It's the weirdest fucking deck I own, but I love it.
Nice. So what would you say is your favorite tarot card?
That really actually depends on what deck I have, because I don't get a deck unless I resonate with the artwork. Like, if you are going out to pick a tarot deck for yourself, and you can totally do that, by the way, you don't have to wait for a unicorn to fart in a jar. You do not have to be gifted your first tarot deck. I have to resonate with the artwork. If I don't like the artwork, I'm not going to like the deck, and the deck sure as fuck ain't gonna like me.
I'm like that too when I buy a deck. Like, but to me, like, part of the intuitive part of the reading and like whatever, and part of like understanding the deck is always like the art on the card, I think. So, and I think that's pretty universally accepted, that the art has a tendency, or should, in a good deck, reflect in some way the theme of the card.
Like,
and the meaning of it. So,
like, I have 2 decks that my favorite card in each of these decks is actually the Tower card.
Yeah.
Some people would say,
what's in the Tower?
The scariest card in the deck. Again, I will.
It is.
It's in my talking points. I'll get there, but it's
Okay.
an upheaval, sudden change. Like, the world feels like it's falling apart around you. But in my deck, the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitama, that deck it's based on fairy tales, folklore, legend, and myths around the world. And the Tower card is based on Rapunzel.
Oh,
and
okay.
I love that. And then I have this deck here, which is the Tarot of the Abyss. I know it sounds terrifying, by Anne Torian, but and I can actually show you this one because it's right next to me. The Tower card is actually on the booklet, and it's a treehouse. And I love that so much. It's this dude falling out of a tree. The treehouse is kind of crumbling down, but he's not going to fall far. He's only got like 5 feet, and then he can get out the way. It's all right. It'll be fine, promise. I've had other people tell me it reminds them of like Baba Yaga. I'm like, yeah, I see what you're getting at there. The house doesn't have chicken feet, but I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's all good. But as far as it goes, though, my signifier card, though, is the Queen of Swords, because the Queen of Swords is sharp-minded, sharp-tongued, sharp-wit. Loves you enough to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
All the damn time.
listen to me. And I was like, I knew what that card, I told Rhiannon the other day, I was like, I rely on my book a lot. I do. But see here, I'm like whipping out, like, I know what some of these things mean. I was so like, I'm like, oh, I'm going up against someone who reads for people, which I only really read for myself. So I'm like very like, I don't really know that much. And I'm like, yeah, I know what that means. And I need to believe in myself.
You know enough to believe what you want it to be.
Well, I mean, I know what the like sort of general, because like, I guess we haven't really talked about this too much, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to like kind of cut into the conversation we were having, but like you can kind of tell like they're like each number has a certain sort of meaning, as I think Rhiannon sort of mentioned earlier, but then like each of like the suits has like particular meaning, so like you can kind of put stuff together. You know what I mean? Like, and even like the major arcana, like if you use numerology, like if you get like the 16 card, it goes to a 7, which is kind of like a test or like, you know, like whatever, you know, like, so you can kind of like put things together, you know, like you can kind of, it's got like a logic to it, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Is that a fair thing to say?
Very much. There is a set
like
structure,
a base structure.
The suits, you have the cups, which are ruled by the element of water, which connect with love, emotion, fluidity, things we can't grasp. And then you have wands, which is ruled by fire, which is fuel, energy, drive, and force. Swords, which is ruled by air, which words, ideas, conflict, and truth.
And intellect.
Yeah, and then you have pentacles, which is, you know, ruled by the earth, which is, you know, physical, corporeal, earthly goods, property, things like that. And then you have your major arcana, which is, you know, big life changes, big life issues. You know, you have 0 through 21, starting with the Fool, ending with the World. And if you lay out the cards respectively, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, and then Ace 2, 3, 4, and so on, it does, you'll notice that they tell a story. You know, the Fool's journey is the major arcana. You start off with the Fool taking that first step, that first leap of faith out into the world, where he then meets the magician who gives him the tools to manifest his desires, who then they meet the high priestess who lets them know, you know, trust your gut, trust your intuition. Then they meet with the empress, which is the motherly figure, the nature, the nurture, you know, go loving. Then the emperor, who is, you know, the big daddy figure who gives him the structure to move forward. And then the Hierophant, who gives him the spiritual ideals, the morals, etc., the traditions, you know, don't forget where you came from, and so on and so forth as it goes down the line.
I'm like loving this more and more. I'm just saying, like, that's what's resonating with me the most so far.
Is she changing your mind, or are you gonna?
I mean, maybe. I'm gonna see. Yeah.
Maybe I'll let you borrow one of my decks.
I'm kind of digging all of that. Like, I really could appreciate that journey, like, in the way that it lays out, and you can kind of particularly see how your journey has laid out on your own individual. Yeah. Oh man, keep going. I'm so sorry.
But then there's the numerological aspect of it. You know, you have your numbers. You're starting with the aces, which is the beginning and the kicking off points of the suit. Your 2s, which is the learning, the choices, opposites, and balance. 3s, you have the initial, which is the initial offspring, the collaboration, triangles, and creation. 2 of Swords is definitely, it's a person usually blindfolded holding 2 swords. That is your Rider-Waite-Smith deck depiction. And it clearly, there's a choice to be made. You have to, you know, go right or left. It's a big decision. And then in like the 2 and 3 of Wands, the 2 of Wands is you're looking for that new adventure, and then the 3 of Wands is you're finally Bilbo Baggins. I'm going on an adventure. And then you have your 4s, which are the stability, the stagnation, the rest, the solidarity. Like the 4 of Cups is someone who's just like, meh. being kind of apathetic, or finally just like finally going, I don't fucking need that shit. Can you give me a fucking minute? Then you have your fives, which is forced growth, dilemmas, problems. Five of wands is the conflict. Five of pentacles is financial problems. Usually, it's like, bitch, check your bank account. At that time, I'm like, I didn't need called out like that. Thank you. But then you have your sixes, which is again choice again, but insight and recognition. Like a six of wands is finally that victory card. It's like finally somebody understands and is giving me the pat on the back that I fucking needed. Sevens are usually loss or required courage or faith. Now, seven of swords is that sneaky motherfucker. Like they have made the choice to be an asshole and sneak around behind your back. I had that come up earlier this year. That's a long ass story. Fucker.
Yeah.
But then you have eights, you have the strength. Now the eights, each of the numbers are ruled by that major arcana, that corresponding major arcana card. Eights is strength, willpower, summoning change. Like the Eight of Pentacles is you are learning a new skill. You are pushing forward and you are working hard to learn a new skill for the betterment of yourself. The Eight of Cups is letting something go that no longer serves you. It's hard to walk away from things sometimes, but you need that willpower to push forward in your life. Again, I love this deck, and the Eight of Cups is definitely one of my favorite cards in this deck because it's this beautiful woman walking away from a house and she's dumping out a goblet of wine, and she's like, fuck this, I don't need it anymore. And it's just wonderful. Then you have the nines, it's the review of life and present fruition. Again, Nine of Pentacles is I'm that independent bitch that don't need no man, I am happy where I'm at. A vibrator in the long run is less money and trouble. And then the tens is the fulfillment, the full dynamic of each suit and the completion of each suit. Now, another reason I love this deck so much, it actually has two variants of two different sword cards in it, like the 3 and 10 of swords, because the traditional 3 of swords, you see the heart with the 3 swords through it. That's quite self-explanatory. It's that heartache, suffering, etc. But in this deck, there's an alternative 3 of swords, where it's this boy holding open a book, and the swords are kind of like popping out of it, like kind of like a magic pop-up book. And he is, after the 2 of swords, he has made that decision, and now he is learning more about the decision he made, acquiring the knowledge to move forward. And then the traditional 10 of swords is, the person laying on their stomach with the 10 swords in their back, which again is pretty well self-explanatory, backstabbing, betrayal. But then the alternative 10 of swords in here is using the knowledge and wisdom that you have acquired through that journey and applying it to life. And I love that so much. I'm like, that's better. So much better.
Nice.
Like then you have your face cards. Yeah, I love the face cards because if you look at your face cards like a family unit, like you have your page, your knight, and your queen and your king, look at it as, the baby, the adolescent, and then the mom and the dad, because now the page is, the youngest, the childlike, the student, newness, the messages that come with that. Like the Page of Cups is like that little baby that wants nothing but cuddles all the time. They just want to sit and watch Disney movies with you and cuddle and give you kisses and, inner child, good news, bringing forth good news. And then the Page of Wands would be that kid that you gave too much sugar to and you can't get him to sit still for shit. They're excited. They're like, we're going to Disney World. We're going to Disney World. We're going to Disney World. Sit down, damn it. That is the Page of Wands. They're excited for the new adventure. Oh my God, we're going to the Children's Museum. Yeah, that was me as a kid sometimes. I'm not going to lie. Hey, the Children's Museum of Indianapolis is the shit. They have a Scooby-Doo exhibit now. I want to go see it. I digress. But you have your Page of Pentacles. Think of this kid as the very studious kid, the one playing with the blocks in the corner. That, you know, this is the kid that says they want to be president when they grow up. You know, they know what they want and they're going to get it. And then you have the Page of Swords. This is the inquisitive child. This is the one that will ask you why until you can't stand it no more. You know, why? Yeah, that kid. That is the Page of Swords. And then you have your knights, which is, you know, young, you know, maybe teenager, young adult to, you know, immature adult, like maybe 20s or so. And it's like the movement, the searching and the research for that, whatever suit that is, like the Knight of Swords, you know, it's that finally moving forward and drive. You know, it's like, okay, this is where I'm going to go do the thing. Like, after I'm done here, I'm going to go get groceries. That is what's going to happen. The Knight of Pentacles, that is the efficiency, that is the routine, that is the nose to the grindstone. This person is working very hard. This is the intern at the office. Let's see. Swords, Pentacles. The Knight of Cups is, how do I put this? He's the new love interest. He is sweet. He's the knight in shining armor, the guy that rides in on the white horse, bringing you the good news that, hey, I'm taking you to the movies or whatever. You know, that night dinner you want. And then you have the Knight of Wands, which when this pops up in certain areas of a spread, I like to call it the fuckboy card. Because it's shiny, it's adventurous, it's new, it's exciting, it's probably really good in bed, but it's also probably very abusive and going to be a disappointment in the long run. I've had a few of those. Not gonna lie.
Oh no.
Haven't we all?
Not gonna lie. I mean, we were all in our 20s once, right?
Yeah, you know.
Your king and your kings and your queens are very much the masculine and feminine energy of that suit. My friend who actually helped me study tarot, who genuinely got me into it for the first time, she helped me learn the structure and everything. She just she taught me. She didn't teach me well. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, she did not teach me very well at all. But she was a Gemini one. And her two signifier cards, depending on what kind of a mood she was in, was either the Queen of Cups or the Queen of Swords. And she hated being the Queen of Swords. I'm like, fucking why? This bitch seems to know what she wants and what she's doing. But she always wanted to be the Queen of Cups because she wanted to be the loving, the caring woman. She wanted to be that nurturing woman who would bring you soup if you were sick. And it's admirable to want to be that. But you also have to understand that you're not going to be that all the fucking time. It's like,
Yeah.
like Susie Homemaker is going to turn into Joan Crawford real fucking quick.
Oh, they know all about that.
It's like you gotta have that balance. I'm like, I don't think she never understood that with the whole Gemini aspect. It's like, you gotta have the balance, man. Like, yes, there's duality, but with duality there is balance. It's quite a simple process. Quite a simple thought process, and I never understood why she didn't get it. Like, but we've covered the Queen of Swords. Again, I am the Queen of Swords. That's fine. But then you have the Queen of Wands, who is the quintessential. When I picture Queen of Wands, I picture Rihanna. She is a bad bitch. Her crown is straight. She is courageous. She's going to tell you how she feels, and she don't care. Like, she is sitting on her throne. She is warm. She is happy. She is joyful. So don't fuck up her vibe. And then you have the Queen of Pentacles, which I like to call the quintessential Taurus woman. She's living in the lap of luxury. She has her wine. She has everything she needs at her fingertips. She has on the furs. She's happy. She's in the lap of luxury because she worked hard to get there. And then you have the kings, which are the dad cards of it. And I'm going to start with the King of Swords. Like, I did a love reading for somebody, and I'm like, oh, King of Swords. So you want to be able to call someone daddy. That's what you want. It's like you want someone who will, well, spank you. That's what's going on there. If you think of the King of Swords as, like, think of like one of those old-timey sitcoms with the dad at the breakfast table reading the newspaper, and he's clearly listening to what everybody has to say, but he doesn't say anything because he's pretending to read the sports section that he's read 5 times by now. And then he'll fold the newspaper down and be like, okay, look, let me tell you what's going on. That is the King of Swords.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your King of Cups, which that was my dad. He was sweet, he was caring, he was loving, he was very generous. And I love my dad literally to death, but he would see the best in people who had the worst to offer. Somehow he would find the goodness in these terrible human beings. And I'm like, how? Dad. It's like he would let people take advantage of him, and it just really sucked. But
Yeah.
It is hard to have people like that because you know that they're so great and you don't want to see them get taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, until they stand
Oh,
up
yeah.
for themselves, it's not gonna.
It's like, but one of my dad's old shitty roommates, I was trying to get the peanut butter off the top of the fridge. And he came in, and this old roommate of my dad's came in and started, like, he was getting ready to whoop my ass for some stupid fucking reason. And my dad came up behind him, grabbed his hand. And this is the one time I've ever seen my dad like this. He goes, if you touch my daughter, I will fucking kill you. And I had never seen my dad like that.
Wow.
I had never seen my dad like that at all. And I was like, oh, okay then.
He does have that side to him.
It just took me in danger to bring it out. And I get that.
Yeah.
I do get that.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, but the King of Cups is the man who will read you the bedtime story and use all the fun voices.
Uh-huh.
And then you have the King of Wands, which I like to call the Funkle card. This is the fun uncle. This is the guy who will sneak you dessert before dinner comes. This is the guy who.
My son loves going to his uncle's house because he gets to stay up to midnight playing video games all day.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That is the King of Wands right there. And then you have the King of Pentacles, who is the uncle that's going to tell you shouldn't spend your money on that if you don't need it. This is my Uncle Dale. I love my Uncle Dale.
Yeah. So that's a really great breakdown of what everything kind of means in a broad sense. So
I like that.
I'm impressed by this, like how much knowledge you have. It's oftentimes, like I've told you, I often refer to my book because I'm not super confident in my knowledge of it all the time, and that's even after me reading for myself for years. But there are a lot of cards that just like don't ever come up for me, like literally have never come up for me. And not to say that I haven't like read over the booklet to a degree, but like because they don't ever come up, I haven't like done as much research into certain cards. You know what I mean? But I guess for me it's been kind of interesting because it's been sort of a long trajectory of learning it for me, because I do go back to my book and like clearly I have retained things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although despite my non-confidence in like regurgitating it quickly or necessarily correctly, like I still have some toss-ups on that, but for me it's kind of become this sort of long learning things, and it seems like you have a lot of knowledge. Do you still find yourself learning more and more about tarot as you go, or you feel like you're pretty
It's like just with the people I read for, it's like, okay, they will tell me, like, I'll give them a general reading, and then they're like, oh my God, this is what's actually going on with me. That was so accurate. And I'm like, well, I had no clue. So now that I know that, let me tell you how I feel about what's going on here. It's like, it's that simple. Like I said, there is an intuitive aspect to it, because not every card and every deck for every different person you read for is going to have the exact same meaning. It's going to be close, but not precise. That's how that works. It's like, then you have the scary cards. I love going to the scary cards. The scary cards are the fun part for me. It's because I cannot begin to tell you. It's like, you get the death card. Someone gets the death card. They're like, am I going to die? I'm like, no, you moron. It's like, chill the fuck out. It's like, no, it just means change. The end of an era, for something new to begin, something old has to go away. It's like you have to, in order to plant the new flower, you have to take the old roots out of the pot. It's not hard. It's like metamorphosis. It's like, and then the devil card.
I think that's what scared me away from tarot, because when Marilyn gave me my reading, I got the death card, and then Corey passed away. So now I'm like,
I have no idea what your question was. Did your question have to do with
that? Because there's only been like a couple of times where I've read tarot, and I've got the Tower card where someone hasn't died. Like a friend of mine that I used to work with last year. I gave her a reading and I told her, I'm like, this is sudden change, upheaval. Things are going to feel like they're falling apart, but don't worry, that's not the end of the journey for you. It's going to be okay. And I saw her a few months. She helped me move. She helped me and my boyfriend move. And she's like, yeah, my dad died. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
And that's the thing too, because like she just said, did it have to do with him? I questioned, and it didn't. It had to do with myself. So I mean,
well, it's.
I'm sure that the
change is
significance
coming.
of him passing did have a lot to do with the big change in my life, but it still wasn't necessarily like hand in hand. Like, hey, here's the death card. You're gonna have somebody die in your life.
Well, and even if you look at it that way, is it the deck's fault, or was it just
forewarning
telling
you?
like I said, it's a spiritual
what was
GPS.
about to go down?
Yeah, and that too, actually. You know? And, yeah.
Like I said, spiritual GPS. It's a heads up.
Yeah, heads up.
Yeah. My friend who helped me get into tarot, I literally asked the cards. I'm like, when I turn 8? Like I was like 16, okay. And it's like, when I turn 18, are we going to be roommates? And like literally the Tower card came out, and then she died in a car accident a year later. Oh, and I'm like, wow, that's fucked up. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you don't understand until
you
it
understand.
I mean,
yeah.
My favorite time I ever pulled the Tower card, though. This is fucking hilarious. Last year, about a year or so ago, I was doing a 3-card spread. How's my day at work gonna go tomorrow? And I pulled the Tower card, and I'm like, I'm just going to work. Why so fucking dramatic? And this was with my my Tarot of the Divine. I go to work, and the roof fucking caved in.
Oh my god!
I'm like, oh, it was literal.
Why so dramatic?
It was literal. Cards got jokes. Gotcha. Asshole.
I tried to tell you.
It was a short day at work, so I wasn't mad.
At least you weren't under when it collapsed, right?
Oh man. I think this is a good point to transition to you were going to do a reading for me. I think you said a Celtic cross, but I can't remember for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do Celtic crosses slightly differently than everybody else does because it's traditionally a 10-card spread.
Yeah.
I use 12.
Oh, okay.
Cool. I have an actual hopes and fears, and then I have a crossing card for the outcome.
Okay, cool.
Just to give a little more insight to what's going on. But no, as far as my history of tarot, yeah, like I said, there was my dad, of course, and then my friend, her name was Jean Withington was her name, and mom Vicky. They have both since passed. My friend Jay from a car accident in 2004.
That's right, yeah. I think you told me about this before.
And Vicky just had, like 5 years later, a slew of health complications. But they actually, they lived down the street from me, and Jay was about 10 or so years older than me, 9 or 10 years older than I am. But it was them who actually got me into, reading up on things like this. They kicked off my Wicca phase, if you will.
Yeah.
And eventually I just got to the point where I'm like, Wicca is far too structured for my ass.
Yeah, same.
It's like, oh, you shouldn't do. They do. They scare you with like Wiccan hell or some dumb shit. It's like the rule of 3. Don't do this. I'm like, why? Why?
I've been very lucky to not really come across too many that are like super bad about that so far. Knock on wood. But I've heard stories about certain ones. Yeah. Like
we have this one group here. It's pretty well accepting, but when I started going when I was like 16, called Witches Against Religious Discrimination, WARD, ward. And because I was, of course, having issues with one of my she wasn't even a teacher, she was a teacher's aide. With me doing this stuff. Her name is Mrs. Fox. She was this woman, and the way her hair looked, she kind of had like the white stripe like right here. It looked like she had a fucking skunk on her head. Oh, she made me angry. She made me so angry. Like I actually back in the day, the Witches Against Religious Discrimination website had a pamphlet you could print out about, dealing with other religions other than Christianity in your school and how to handle it. So I printed it out for her, thinking, I'm going to be proactive about this. 5 minutes later, it was in her trash can. I'm like, okay. So I had a little bit of my allowance saved up, and so I went to the library and made copies. And every time she would throw it in the trash, it was like a Hydra monster. There'd be double the number. Where eventually her desk was just covered in it. And, my actual teacher of that class, Mr. Keith, just laughed about it. It was just hilarious. He's like, maybe you should read it before it winds up in your mailbox. It was wonderful. I enjoyed doing that. It was because when you're 16, 17 years old and full of angst and snark, not much has changed really.
Yeah.
Like I have a kid now and I've gained some weight, but not much has changed. It's like I'm a little. It's like I'm still kind of angry, but you've seen the state of the world. Everyone should be. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're not angry, you're not paying attention.
So
yeah, J&B got me into it. Then I started doing readings at school, actually, like on my lunch and in my study hall for like $1. I should have charged way more.
Hey, when you're in high school,
Let me tell you something about teenagers. Kids are dumb as hell. Like every reading I did was, you're making a big deal out of something that's not really a big deal. And if you just tell your parents or your girlfriend about it or your boyfriend about it, you're going to feel a lot better. Like almost every single reading, like once or twice, I'm like, quit cheating on your girlfriend. It's like, being stupid.
Oh man,
that was really all the readings I did back then. I'm like, whatever you did, it's not that big a deal. You think it's terrible, but really it's dumb shit. So just fucking chill.
So it's just like Rhiannon therapy on the playground. Rhiannon tarot therapy.
I went to the counselor. It didn't work. I'm going to Rhiannon instead.
But do you have a specific question, or you just want a general reading?
Yeah, let's just do a general reading. And do we want to tell everyone what deck you're using? Because I'm kind of excited.
Oh, absolutely! It. I am using my Jim Henson's Labyrinth Tarot, and I love this. I love this so much. It's artwork by Thomas Neo. And the forward for the booklet is by Brian Froud, who was the art director for both Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. Nice. And I love Brian. I used to have his fairy oracle deck. Like the one oracle deck I had was his oracle deck because it's Brian fucking Froud, and I needed it, and I don't know what ever happened to it.
Nice.
I think my stepfather may have gotten rid of it because he was an asshole. Anyway, he's dead now. We're good.
So why don't we walk me through this? So like, what's your process? So like, I can kind of hear you like shuffling a little bit in the background, and I've seen it a little bit when I've zoomed over to the Zoom call. But what else do you do to prepare for readings? Do you smoke cleanse your deck? Do you use crystals? Do you not do any of that stuff? How do you do anything to protect your own energy? Some people see tarot as having sort of this energy to it.
If you guys, I light a candle or just incense, and I go about it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I roll. I just, again, chaos witch. I love the chaotic energy.
Yeah. I like smoke cleanse mine usually, but I trust other people and what they do with their decks, You're going to read for me, I trust you to do it.
Even so much as just shuffling the deck helps clear the old energy off of it.
Sure.
So it's like I smoke cleanse my decks every now and again. Like if I've lit some incense, I'll run the cards through. Smoke every now and again, but other than that, it's like whatever.
Yeah, I think we all have our own, processes for that work for us,
Yeah, but it's like, and then but I used to for 2 years I was a stripper, and I was great at the performance part of it, terrible at the hustle bit because I refused to dumb myself down for anybody.
Yeah,
like I was the stripper that would bring a book to work for slow nights.
Yeah.
Which no one else ever does. I guarantee you can talk to anyone else who's ever been a stripper. No, I never brought a book. No shit. I can tell.
Oh no.
There was this one time when I was working at the bar, And I think I told you this, Marilyn, but so I'm sorry. You're going to have to hear it twice. But there's one night I was working the bar. It was a fairly busy Friday or Saturday evening, and there was this one girl there that just decided she didn't like me. I mean, okay, fine. You're always going to have that no matter where you fucking go. It's just a matter of if you can act like a fucking adult about it. Well, she couldn't. Of course not. And she brought this guy up to me because, random dude, never seen him before in my life, and it was her customer. And she's making fun of me because I read tarot. And I'm just like, okay, look, why don't you just put your money where your mouth is? And I grossly undercharge, and people still tell me that I grossly undercharge. That's fine. I like to keep what I call broke bitch prices because we all be broke bitches these days.
True story.
You've seen gas. I put $50 in my tank this week. Ugh. I do not like putting $50 in my tank.
Yeah, I understand.
More than 30, I bitch. Anyway, kind of like right now. Anyway, so she brings this guy up to me, and she's making fun of me. I'm like, okay, let's put your money where your mouth is and get a reading. It's $5 You got $5 don't you, pal? Don't you, pal? That overpriced shirt you're wearing says you got at least $5 So he hands me $5. We sit down. Seriously, since I was doing this topless, I should have charged at least 15. But I start shuffling, and I let him cut the deck for funsies. It's really unnecessary, but since it's a performance at that point, had to. And I sit there and let him cut the deck, and I start pulling cards out. And the first card I pull out is the devil card. I'm like, oh boy. Crossed by the 2 of Cups. So it's at that point I have to do the Sherlock Holmes thing where I look at his ring finger on his left hand and I see a tan line. It's really easy to see tan lines in black light, let me tell you. Like, oh boy. And then it's like the foundation of the issue card was the 2 of Swords, and then the past was the Lovers, present was the Tower card, no shit. The future influences was what was it? I think it was either the 8 or 5 of Cups. I can't remember which. And then the way he saw it, how the fuck did he see it? Shit. The way he saw it, was the 7. No, the way everyone else saw it was the 7 of Swords, but the way he saw it, it was just him having fun. That was like 8 cards. I'm not doing that. More than 3 cards, I'm not fucking with that. It's like if I shuffle the deck and cards fall out, sometimes it means something, but if it's more than 3, no, fuck that. And he goes,
I usually do the same.
He just thought, his was the 3 of Cups. He just thought he was out having fun making new friends, and then everyone else saw his actual bullshit where he was sneaking around being a dick. And then the Hopes card was the 4 of Wands, which is happy home life celebration. And then the Fears card was, again, it was either the 5 or the 8 of Cups. But his outcome was the Moon crossed by, what was it? Which Cups was it? Fuck. Was it Cups or Swords? His whole fucking thing was Swords, and it was Swords, Cups, Major Arcana, and 1 wand. And I'm just like, dude, your wife is catching on. You're cheating on your wife.
Oh, no.
And it's like, I'm like, dude, you are straight up. You're cheating on your wife, and she's catching wise to whatever bullshit lies. She knows you're not working late. And like his eyes got huge, his jaw dropped straight to the floor, and I'm pretty sure I audibly heard his heart fall from his chest into his ass. That could have been the bass dropping, but whatever. Like, I'm like, dude, I can't tell you what the outcome for this is. Oh, 6 of Swords. That's what it was. Crossed by 6 of Swords, which is moving on, which is a literal move. Sometimes it's a literal move, like, moving apartments or whatever, but it's like moving forward. It's like, from what I'm gathering here is you could fix this. Like, you want that happy home life. You want that, picket, 2-story house, picket fence, 2.3 kids and a dog life. You want that. You can't have that while you're here. You know, it's one thing saying, "Hey, hon, I'm going out to the club with the boys for a boys' night out."
Mm-hmm.
One thing being straightforward about this, but the way you're doing it, you're trying to be a sneaky shithead. Everyone else sees it. You think you're just having fun. No, everyone else sees through your bullshit because you're full of shit. Like, are your eyes brown, sir? Because you're full of shit. And like at the end of it, he tossed me a $20 bill, left. We never saw him again. And then Sky was
The best life advice I've ever gotten. Here's a 20.
Yeah, she was mad. She was so mad at me. She's, that's my money. You owe me that money. I'm like, I don't owe you shit, but you owe me a fucking apology. If you can't muster the fucking strength to do that, get the fuck away from me before I rake my fingernails down your face and use the blood and skin underneath it in a voodoo doll. Again, voodoo's a closed practice, but I don't think she would have understood the word pop it. So sometimes you have to use the colloquial terminology that everyone will stand. Because although, yes, voodoo dolls are a thing, the whole idea of poppets and needles transcends other cultures as well. Like, but if I'm going to do a poppet, I'm going to do it right and use black beeswax.
I don't think I could ever do that. I would feel I'd be feeling like I was violating something that I wasn't supposed to be doing.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, but think of it this way. Did they violate you first?
I mean, depends on who we're talking about.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. I'm not saying to do it to everybody that, trolls you online. Just, ask me what happened to the last guy I wanted hit by a car.
Oh, that was dark.
Go ahead.
I'm going to leave that one blank. I don't want to know.
So our first card here is the Queen of Poles, which for this is the Queen of Wands. I'm just going to use the regular terminology.
Yeah, that's fine.
Confused. But you have the Queen of Wands. So again, you have your quintessential kind of Leo, Rihanna woman. You're in a good spot. You're very happy. You're where you want to be in life.
Yes.
However, you're happy with looking at a new perspective.
Yep.
Yep. You want to be able to, see things from a new angle. And because you know what, your cup is overflowing. You're very happy. You're full of emotion right now. You've got good news coming. Like, it too. Okay, hang on. Do you see why this is a weird deck for me?
They look like pots or pans.
Yeah, this is
cups.
Instead of
cups.
Cups, pots. Yeah, and that. So, but this is a weird deck for me because it doesn't have the visual aid.
Yeah.
So I do. So thank you. I do need to work with this deck more. But this is the eight of pots, which is the past influences. Is letting go of things that no longer serve you. And making it's like, I don't need this shit anymore. Let's just go ahead and clean it out, put it in the garage sale, do what we need to do with it, get rid of it. I'm done. Moving forward. And currently, let's see, Four of Wands. Currently, right here is that happy home life. You're celebrating that family structure because you've got a wonderful family. I just want you to know that you guys remind. If I were closer with my cousins, I feel like this is where we would be. Like I keep telling my cousin got married this past Monday, and it was a very small, intimate ceremony. She did it out at a friend's property. Her other friend officiated. It was just it was like 7 people all together. And I just wish I could have been there, but I had to fucking work. Future influences, though, we do have the 5 of Wands here. So future influences, there's some minor conflict coming in. Again, it could just be petty bullshit. That's easily solved by sitting down and talking. Okay. 7. The way you see it, you have the 7 of Cups here, which is, maybe you feel like you maybe need to put your feet on the ground a little bit more. Maybe get your head out of the clouds somewhat. Living in a fantasy world is good for a little while, but back to reality. Never fun, but it's never fun, but it's necessary. and everyone else does kind of agree with you. Like everyone else sees that you have these hopes and these dreams that you want to achieve, but you need to be more grounded about it.
Okay.
What you're hoping for is you're hoping for that good news. You're hoping for that someone to come and help you out with it.
Mm-hmm.
The nine of cups here, nine of pots, cups. God damn it. But the nine of cups here. Now, usually this is in the fear section, so it's kind of weird, but I get it. You're kind of afraid of being too comfortable.
Mm.
It's like you know, if you sit and rest on your laurels, things just fall apart. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So now we have, as our outcome, we have the four of feathers, which is swords.
Okay.
Isn't that pretty? Crossed by the three of wands. So what this is telling you is four of swords is taking a well-needed rest, some time to sit back and hang on before embarking on this new adventure.
Mm-hmm.
There is a new adventure that is going to be presenting itself through some kind of conflict. But what you need to do is you need to step back, take a minute, sleep on it. Make sure it's the right thing you want to do.
Sweet. I feel
I
like
like the way that Oh, go ahead.
real
Sorry.
hard.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just, I feel like it resonated. So.
Good.
It's
Okay,
cool
did that
to
resonate? Do you have any
Yep.
questions?
No, I don't think so. Not at the moment.
Did you have a specific question in mind before going into the reading?
No, I was just kind of looking for a general reading. But like,
Okay.
you know, yeah, I just felt like a lot of the stuff, you know, resonated with things that I've been feeling, going through, like changes that I feel like are possibly coming, are hopefully going to happen, but like some of my reservations about those things coming and happening, things like that. So I felt it fits things I've been thinking very well.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Like my boyfriend's very skeptical about this stuff. Like he's like, you can read my cards for me. I'm like, but I want you to sit and let me read them to you, dingus. I want you to understand. I want you to get it. Like we had a lovely conversation about it the other night. And I'm swaying him towards it. I don't see the Fool card in this though, but look at that. Isn't that great?
Wait.
This is
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's there at the beginning of the movie, and I love that so much. It's so perfect. I really do love it.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for doing a reading for me. I was kind of excited because like I say, I have not had many people read for me. So because I almost exclusively do it for myself. I think the last time that someone read for me, one of my best friends, Sarah, and we went to this like, it was kind of like an art fair festival thing in Chicago. And it was like downtown. It was kind of cool. It was like a maker's market type of deal, you know, art and like whatever. And there was someone there doing readings, and so I did like a small reading there. It was just like a 3-card draw, and I can't even entirely remember what it was about at this point. To be honest with you, it's been a while. It's been a few years ago, or several years ago. And then Sarah has a tarot deck, and I think she did a reading for me once at like a sleepover, like years and years and years and years and years ago. And then I feel like I had one done at like a fair or something when I was younger too. And then I completely don't remember that one almost at all, like other than just it happened. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then this one, so that's like it, other than me. So, yeah. I was kind of excited to have someone else do it.
Yeah, you're literally the only person that has.
If you guys ever want a reading, like, you guys still have as far as I'm concerned, you guys still have a freebie to cash in with me if you ever want to try it out.
Okay. I would love to. I feel like I'm a little more private, though, and I feel like I would have to have mine done on my own, because I would feel like...
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know the word, but...
Fair.
Yeah.
But you got a lot going on, so you need something, you need to feel safe in the space.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you find me on Facebook. We can do a private Facebook call. I don't mind.
That's what I'm thinking. I'll have to hit you up after this, and we'll do a reading, too.
Absolutely.
Well, I do want to mention, because Rhiannon, I know that you go live on TikTok sometimes. I don't know if you go live anywhere else, and I think you like, offer readings as well on your I think, do you have like some sort of, do you have Etsy or something like that? I can't remember. I feel like you have something. Wixie. That's right. I was going to say, I was like, I know you have something that you've told me about, and you've told me about this specifically before. I still need to like check it out fully.
I've seen the videos for it and stuff.
Yeah, you sent me links and things, I think.
So it's on what, Wixie?
Wixie. It's kind of like Etsy, but for witches, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. I've never heard
Without
of
the
that.
stupid fees.
Yeah.
Without the stupid fees.
Yeah.
Is there an app?
Not yet. They're working on it.
Yeah.
That does sound like right up our alley.
Yeah.
So. I love
definitely have to
Etsy.
check it out. But so do you want to give everyone like your info? Like, where can they find you if they want a reading, or if they want to follow you on the socials?
Well, if you would like a reading, you can hit me up on TikTok or Instagram. My TikTok is heartfelt87, HARTFELT 87. No underscores, no periods, no extra letters, no extra numbers. That hasn't happened to me yet, but I just know it's a matter of fucking time.
It hasn't happened to me yet either, other than being like the outside scammers. Like, no one's like impersonated us yet. Thank goodness. But
on that note, real quick, if you get anybody in your fucking inbox coming at you going, Grand Rising, random fucking emojis, the ancestors want me to contact you. I'm like, bitch, why is my family talking to you? You're a stranger. Get out of here.
I don't believe you.
Like, get out of here. If they're my ancestors, they will talk to me, okay? They don't need to contact a fucking stranger to talk to their grandbaby. Fuck off. Stop it.
So,
If you,
did you say you have
my
Instagram, right? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, my Instagram is different. It's Rosary Sparrow. Rosary is spelled ROSAIRY. Sparrow, like Jack Sparrow. The reason it is that is because this is my name from back when I played Vampire the Masquerade.
Nice.
And I'm like, I know Rosary is spelled wrong, but I thought it was clever because I'm an air sign. Okay? Fuck it.
I have my reasons for my names.
Love it.
I'm like, yeah, I'm that nerd. Okay, I am. By the way, my top here is says we are the weirdos, Mister.
The craft. I love the craft.
Yeah. Yes, I needed to throw that out.
We are the weirdos.
I love this top. But and then you can find me Rhiannon Hart on Facebook. There's a bunch of Rhiannon Harts on Facebook, believe it or not.
Interesting.
I found you.
Yes, you did. And I'm the only one that looks like me. I am not Rhiannon Hart from Australia, of Rhiannon Hart and the Oz, which is a band. Like I'm actually part of a group called Rhiannons of the World Unite. We will be taking over Montana presently.
That's too funny.
But yes, you can find me on Facebook under Rhiannon Hart, Heartfelt87 on TikTok, Rosary Sparrow on Instagram. My prices and everything are on my Instagram. I do have a pinned video with my flyer on TikTok. And I am fairly reasonably priced to the point that people tell me that I am still grossly undercharging for my services. So yeah, but again, with the way things are, I like to keep my prices set at broke bitch prices.
And we broke bitches, thank you.
Yes.
The only time I charge hourly is if you want to book me for a party. And if you want to book me for a party, please make sure you're local because I'm not driving more than an hour.
Exactly.
I don't think my car will make it.
Nice. Well, thank you so much again, Rhiannon, for coming on with us. We were really excited to have you, and I'm excited to have, like I said, finally gotten a reading from someone after not having had one but from myself for a very long time.
I was super excited about all the education. I felt like I learned so much more about tarot than I'd have ever known before. So thank you very much for all of your knowledge.
And
thank you guys for having me. I've been uber stoked to do this for such a long time.
Yeah.
I was super excited. I didn't really know how it was going to go because I don't really have much to offer as far as tarot. But yeah, I had a good time.
You learned a lot.
I did.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, Coven. If you don't already follow us on Patreon, you can check us out there to get some early access to book club and have some access to our weekend reads text. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say except for goodbye?
Oh, my Wixie shop.
Goodbye. What was that?
Oh, my Wixie
Oh,
shop.
yeah,
I
your
forgot.
Wixie. Rhiannon's Wixie.
It's Foulmouth.
Give it
It's
to him.
Foulmouth Tarot. It's Wixie.com, WYXII.com/Foulmouth Tarot.
Foulmouth Tarot. F-O-U-L, right?
Yep, FOULMOUTHED Tarot. TAROT.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Well, go check her out if you want a reading and follow her on her socials. And until next time,
blessed be.
Blessed be.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Midwest Covencast.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode.
In the meantime, you can check out Midwest Covencast Presents Weekend Reads.
Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Join and support us on Patreon. You can also find us at
MidwestCovencast.com.
You can also join our coven by following us on social media.
At Midwest Covencast on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, and at Midwest Coven on Twitter.
Until next time, Coven.
Blessed be.